Daniel Harris drove his old truck down the mountain road as the sun disappeared behind the trees. He was tired. He had spent the whole day treating a sick elk at a farm 30 miles away. His hands still smelled like medicine and animal fur. He was a wildlife veterinarian. He had chosen this job because he loved animals more than people. After his wife died 3 years ago, he moved to this remote part of Montana to be alone. His cabin sat at the edge of a forest, far from the nearest town. He liked the quiet. He liked the simple life. The road curved through tall pine trees. Daniel turned on his headlights as darkness spread across the sky. He thought about the soup he would make for dinner. Maybe he would read a book by the fire. Simple plans for a simple night. Then he saw the lights. Something bright streaked across the sky above him. It was not a plane. It was not a meteor. It moved too fast and too strange. The object left a trail of fire behind it as it fell toward the mountains. Daniel stopped his truck and watched. The thing crashed somewhere in the forest, maybe 2 miles away. He saw a flash of light through the trees. Then silence. His heart beat fast. He knew he should drive home and forget what he saw. He knew he should call someone. But something pushed him forward. Maybe it was curiosity. Maybe it was the same feeling that made him help injured animals. He could not just leave. He drove his truck off the main road onto a dirt path. The path ended after half a mile. Daniel grabbed his flashlight and medical bag from the back seat. He always carried supplies in case he found hurt animals in the wild. He walked through the dark forest. Branches scratched his arms. Owls called in the distance. The air smelled like smoke now. He followed the smell. After 20 minutes of walking, he found it. A small spacecraft sat in a clearing. It had crashed through several trees and carved a long path in the dirt. The metal was black and smooth, unlike anything Daniel had ever seen. Parts of it still glowed with heat. Strange symbols covered the surface. Daniel stood frozen. His mind could not accept what his eyes saw. This was real. This was an alien ship on Earth, on his mountain. In his forest. He should run. He should hide. But then he heard a sound. A weak cry came from inside the ship. Daniel moved before he could think. He approached the wreckage carefully. A section of the hull had torn open during the crash. He pointed his flashlight inside. A figure lay on the floor of the ship. It was humanoid, but not human. The skin was silver blue, smooth like polished stone. The face had delicate features with large eyes closed in pain. Long white hair spread across the floor. The creature wore clothes that looked expensive, covered in golden threads and small gems. It was female, Daniel realized. And she was badly hurt. Blood that looked purple leaked from wounds on her arms and legs. One arm bent at a wrong angle. Burns covered part of her face and neck. Her breathing was shallow and weak. Daniel's fear disappeared. His training took over. She was injured. She needed help. That was all that mattered. He climbed into the ship carefully. The interior was damaged but not on fire. He knelt beside the alien female and checked her wounds. The blood was strange, but blood was blood. The bones looked similar to human bones. The burns needed treatment. He could not leave her here. She would die. Daniel worked quickly. He used bandages from his medical bag to stop the bleeding on her arms. He made a simple splint for her broken arm, using materials from the ship. He cleaned the burns as best he could. The alien remained unconscious through all of this. Her breathing stayed weak but steady. Daniel knew she needed more help than he could give here in the dark forest. He made a decision. He lifted her carefully. She was lighter than he expected. He carried her through the forest back to his truck. Every step felt dangerous. Every sound made him look around in fear. But no one came. No other ships appeared in the sky. He placed her gently in the back seat of his truck. He covered her with a blanket. Then he drove home as fast as the rough roads allowed. At his cabin, Daniel carried her inside and placed her on his bed. He turned on all the lights and gathered more medical supplies. For the next 3 hours, he worked on her wounds. Her biology was different, but not impossible to understand. He cleaned and bandaged her cuts. He treated her burns with medicine meant for animals, but gentle enough for sensitive skin. He set her broken arm properly and wrapped it tight. When he finished, he sat in a chair beside the bed. He was exhausted. His hand shook. He stared at the alien female lying in his bed. What had he done? He should call the police. He should call the military. He should tell someone. But he knew what would happen if he did. They would take her. They would study her. They would treat her like a thing, not a person. He had seen how governments handled things they did not understand. She had cried out in pain. She had bled. She was alive and afraid and hurt. That made her a person to Daniel. No matter what planet she came from, he would not hand her over to become an experiment. Around midnight, her eyes opened. They were purple, deep, and bright, like gems. She looked at Daniel with fear at first. She tried to speak, but the words were strange sounds he could not understand. Daniel held up his hand slowly. He pointed to her bandages. He pointed to himself. He tried to show her that he was helping, not hurting. She looked at her wrapped arm. She touched the bandages on her face. Understanding filled her eyes. The fear faded. She spoke again, softer this time. Daniel did not understand the words, but he understood the feeling behind them. Gratitude. Then her eyes closed again as sleep took her. Daniel stayed in the chair all night, watching over the stranger from the stars. He did not know who she was. He did not know why she had come to Earth. He only knew that she needed help, and he had given it. Whatever came next, he would face it in the morning. The first 3 days were difficult. The alien female drifted in and out of sleep. Daniel changed her bandages, gave her water, and watched for signs of infection. He did not know if human medicine would help her or hurt her. He could only try. On the 4th day, she stayed awake longer. She watched Daniel move around the cabin with curious eyes. He talked to her even though she could not understand. He told her about the weather, about his work, about the deer he saw outside the window. The sound of his voice seemed to calm her. On the 5th day, she pointed to a small bag that Daniel had brought from her ship. He gave it to her. She reached inside with her good hand and pulled out a small silver device. She pressed it against her throat. When she spoke again, Daniel understood her. "Can you hear my words now?" she asked. Daniel nearly fell off his chair. Yes, I can understand you." She gave a weak smile. "This device translates language. I should have remembered it sooner. The crash affected my memory." Daniel leaned forward. "Who are you? Where you come from?" "My name is Velara," she said. "I am the youngest daughter of Emperor Zorith of the Sindari Empire. I come from a world very far from here." Daniel stared at her. "A princess? You are a princess?" "Yes." She looked down at her bandaged arm. "A foolish princess who made many mistakes." Over the next few days, Velara told Daniel her story. The Sindari Empire ruled over hundreds of planets across the galaxy. Her father was a powerful leader. Her family lived in a palace larger than most human cities. She had everything she could want, but Velara was curious. She wanted to see the galaxy for herself, not through reports and screens. She had heard about Earth, a small planet with primitive people. Her father had forbidden travel there. He said humans were dangerous and unpredictable. He said they were not worth studying. Velara disagreed. She stole a small ship and traveled to Earth in secret. She wanted to observe humans and prove her father wrong. But her ship malfunctioned during entry into the atmosphere. The crash nearly killed her. "Why do your people think humans are dangerous?" Daniel asked. Velara thought for a moment. Your species is young. You fight each other constantly. You have weapons that could destroy your own planet. Many in the galaxy believe humans will either kill themselves or become a threat to others. Most advanced species avoid Earth. Daniel laughed quietly. We do have problems, but most people are just trying to live their lives. We are not all dangerous. I am beginning to understand that, Velara said. She looked at Daniel with her purple eyes. You saved me. You did not have to. You could have left me to die or given me to your government. Why did you help me? Daniel shrugged. You were hurt. That was enough reason for me. Velara did not respond, but her expression changed. Something shifted in the way she looked at him. As the days passed, Velara grew stronger. Her wounds healed faster than human wounds would. Daniel helped her walk around the cabin. He showed her simple things about human life. He taught her how to cook soup. She found it strange that humans prepared food by hand instead of using machines. He showed her the sunset from his porch. She said the colors were similar to the skies on her homeworld. He introduced her to his 3 cats. She laughed when one of them climbed onto her lap. You care for these small creatures, she observed. Even though they give you nothing in return. They give me company, Daniel said. That is enough. Velara asked him about his life. He told her about his work as a veterinarian. He told her about growing up in a small town. He told her about his wife. She died 3 years ago, he said quietly. A sickness took her. The doctors could not help. I am sorry, Velara said. Do you feel alone now? Sometimes. But I have my work. I have my animals. I have enough. Velara was quiet for a long time after that. She watched him feed the cats. She watched him repair a broken chair. She watched him read a book by the fire. You are not what I expected, she finally said. Humans in our records seem violent and selfish. But you are kind. You live simply. You help others without wanting anything back. Maybe your records are wrong, Daniel said. Maybe they are. One evening, Daniel's sister Katie arrived without warning. She often visited to check on him. Daniel had no time to hide Velara. Katie screamed when she saw the alien woman sitting in the living room. Daniel had to hold her and explain everything. It took an hour for Katie to calm down, but Katie was a nurse. Once she accepted the impossible truth, her professional mind took over. She examined Velara's wounds and was impressed by how well Daniel had treated her. You did good work, Katie told her brother. But she still needs rest. That arm will take time to heal fully. Katie agreed to keep the secret. She visited every few days to help with Velara's care. The 2 women talked while Daniel worked outside. Katie told Velara about human families, human jobs, and human dreams. Velara listened with great interest. 2 weeks after the crash, Velara could walk without help. Her burns had faded to faint marks. Her arm was still weak but improving. I should contact my people, she said one morning. They will be searching for me. My father will be worried. Daniel felt something twist in his chest. He had known this moment would come. She did not belong here. She had a whole empire waiting for her. Can you fix your ship? He asked. No, but I have an emergency signal device. If I activate it, my people will find me within days. Daniel nodded. Then you should do it. Your family needs to know you are safe. Velara looked at him for a long moment. You will not ask me to stay? You will not ask for anything in return for saving my life? No, Daniel said. You have your own life. I helped you because it was right. That is all. Velara smiled sadly. She reached out and touched his hand. You are a good man, Daniel Harris. I will not forget you. She activated the signal that night. 3 days after Velara sent her signal, they came. Daniel was outside feeding the cats when he heard the sound. It was a low hum that grew louder and louder. He looked up and saw a large silver ship descending from the clouds. It was much bigger than Velara's crashed vessel. This was a military ship. His heart pounded in his chest. He ran inside the cabin. "They are here," he told Velara. She stood at the window, watching the ship land in the clearing near the forest. Her face showed no fear, only calm acceptance. "Stay inside," Daniel said. "Let me talk to them first." "No." Velara grabbed his arm. "They might hurt you. They do not trust humans. I do not care. You are still recovering. I will not let them take you by force." Daniel grabbed his hunting rifle from the closet. He knew it would be useless against aliens with advanced technology, but he would not face them empty-handed. He stepped outside as the ship's door opened. 5 figures walked out. They wore silver armor that covered their whole bodies. They carried weapons that glowed with blue light. Their faces were hidden behind helmets. The leader removed his helmet. He had the same silver-blue skin as Velara, but his features were harder and older. A long scar crossed his left cheek. His eyes were cold. "I am Commander Thyron of the Imperial Guard," he announced. His voice was deep and harsh. "We have tracked Princess Velara to this location. Surrender her immediately, primitive." Daniel raised his rifle. "She is inside. She is safe. But I want to know your intentions before I let you near her." Thyron laughed. It was not a pleasant sound. "You dare point a weapon at me? You are nothing. A creature from a backward planet with toys for weapons. I could kill you with a thought." "Maybe," Daniel said. "But I will not hand her over to someone who might hurt her." Thyron's eyes narrowed. "Hurt her? She is our princess. We have searched the galaxy for her. Do you think we came to harm her? I do not know what you came to do. I only know that she was injured and scared when I found her. I helped her. I kept her safe. And I will keep her safe until I am sure you mean well." Thyron raised his weapon. The blue light grew brighter. "Last warning, human. Step aside or die. Stop." Velara's voice cut through the tension. She walked out of the cabin and stood between Daniel and the soldiers. She spoke rapidly in her own language. Daniel could not understand without the translation device, but he saw the effect on Thyron. The commander's face changed. His anger became confusion, then shock, then something close to shame. Velara turned to Daniel. "Give me the device from inside." "My voice translator." Daniel went inside and brought her the silver device. She placed it on her throat. "I have told Commander Thyron what happened," she said. "I told him about the crash. I told him about my injuries. I told him how you found me, saved me, and cared for me for 2 weeks without asking for anything in return." Thyron lowered his weapon. He looked at Daniel with new eyes. "Is this true?" The commander asked. "You helped her knowing nothing about who she was?" "I did not know she was a princess," Daniel said. "I only knew she was hurt. That was enough." Thyron was silent for a long moment. He looked at Velara's bandaged arm. He looked at the cabin where she had recovered. He looked at the simple human man who had risked his life to protect her. "The princess tells me you expected no reward," Thyron said. "She says you plan to let her go without asking for anything. Most species in the galaxy would have tried to bargain. They would have used her for power or money. But you asked for nothing." "I do not want power or money," Daniel said. "I just wanted to help." Thyron put his weapon away. The other soldiers did the same. "Perhaps we have judged your species too quickly," the commander said slowly. "There may be more to humans than we believed." Velara smiled at Daniel. "I told you that you would change their minds." "We must leave now," Thyron said. "The Emperor is waiting." He has been sick with worry since the princess disappeared. Valara nodded. But before she left, she reached into her robe and pulled out a small object. It was a crystal pendant on a thin chain. The crystal was purple, the same color as her eyes. Light seemed to move inside it like a living thing. "Take this," she said, placing it in Daniel's hand. "It is called a soul bondstone. Among my people, it is a gift of deep friendship. It means I will never forget what you did for me." Daniel looked at the beautiful pendant. "I cannot accept this. It must be valuable." "It has no price," Valara said. "Its value is in the meaning. Keep it. Remember that somewhere in the stars, there is someone who thinks of you with gratitude." She touched his face gently. Her skin was cool and smooth. "Goodbye, Daniel Aris. You have given me more than you know. You showed me that kindness exists even in unexpected places." "Goodbye, Valara," Daniel said. His voice was thick with emotion. "Take care of yourself. Do not crash any more ships." She laughed. It was a beautiful sound. Then she turned and walked toward the Sindari ship with Commander Theron and the soldiers. Daniel watched her go. Katie came to stand beside him. She had been hiding inside during the confrontation. "You really let her leave without asking for anything?" Katie asked. "What would I ask for?" Daniel replied, "Money? Technology? I do not need those things. I have my cabin. I have my animals. I have enough." The ship lifted into the sky and disappeared among the stars. Daniel stood there for a long time, holding the purple crystal in his hand. Katie put her arm around her brother. "Do you regret it?" Daniel shook his head. "I helped someone who needed help. That is never something to regret." He went back inside his cabin and returned to his simple life. But sometimes at night, he would look up at the stars and wonder about the princess who had fallen from the sky. He never expected to see her again. 3 years passed. Daniel continued his life as a wildlife veterinarian. He woke up early each morning. He fed his cats. He drove to farms and forests to help sick and injured animals. He came home tired but satisfied. His days were simple and predictable, but something had changed inside him. He thought about Valara often. He remembered her curious questions about human life. He remembered her laughter when the cat jumped on her lap. He remembered the look in her purple eyes when she said goodbye. He wore the crystal pendant around his neck every day. He never took it off. Sometimes he held it in his hand and looked at the light moving inside. He wondered what she was doing out there among the stars. He wondered if she ever thought about him. The first year after her departure was the hardest. Daniel found himself looking up at the sky more often. Every strange light made his heart beat faster. Every unusual sound made him hope. But the sky remained empty. No ships came. No messages arrived. He told himself to stop hoping. She was a princess of a vast empire. He was a simple veterinarian on a small planet. Their worlds were too different. Their meeting had been an accident, nothing more. But the pendant against his chest reminded him that it was not nothing. She had called it a soul bond stone. She had said it meant deep friendship. That meant something. The second year brought troubles. A wildfire swept through the mountains during summer. Daniel fought alongside the firefighters to save his cabin. They succeeded, but the forest around him was damaged. Many animals lost their homes. Daniel spent months helping the injured ones, working until he collapsed from exhaustion. His veterinary clinic faced money problems. Fewer people could afford his services. He had to sell some equipment to pay his bills. He thought about moving to a city where there was more work, but he could not leave the mountains. This was his home. This was where she had found him. The third year was quieter. Katie got married to a man named Peter and moved to another state. Daniel attended the wedding and smiled for the photos. But afterward, he drove home alone to his empty cabin. The loneliness felt heavier than before. He was 40 years old now. His hair had started to turn gray at the edges. His body ached more after long days of work. He was not young anymore. Sometimes he wondered if the rest of his life would be just like this, day after day of work and silence until the end. But he did not complain. He had his purpose. He helped animals. He made a small difference in a small corner of the world. That was enough. It had to be enough. Then the news reports started. It was a Tuesday evening in late autumn. Daniel sat on his porch with a cup of coffee, watching the sunset. The radio played quietly inside the cabin. He liked to listen to music while the sky changed colors. The music stopped suddenly. A voice spoke with urgency. "We interrupt this program for an emergency announcement. Multiple unidentified objects have been detected approaching Earth. Military forces around the world are on high alert. All citizens are advised to stay indoors and await further instructions." Daniel set down his coffee. He went inside and turned on the old television that he rarely used. Every channel showed the same thing. Radar images of large objects moving toward Earth. News anchors with frightened faces. Government officials giving statements that said nothing useful. The objects were coming from deep space. There were dozens of them, maybe hundreds. No one knew what they were or what they wanted. People panicked. Grocery stores emptied as everyone bought supplies. Traffic jammed the highways as families tried to flee the cities. Some people prayed. Some people cried. Some people prepared for war. Daniel watched the chaos on his television. He felt strangely calm. He had met aliens before. He knew they existed. He knew that not all of them were enemies. But were these ships friendly? Were they Sindari? Or were they something else, something dangerous? He stepped outside and looked up at the night sky. The stars looked the same as always, peaceful and distant. But somewhere among them, ships were coming to Earth. Everything might change soon. Daniel reached up and touched the crystal pendant around his neck. The light inside seemed brighter than usual. Was that his imagination? Or was something happening? He thought about Velara. 3 years had passed since she left. He had never heard from her again. He did not even know if she was still alive. Empires had enemies. Princesses faced dangers. Anything could have happened, but somehow, deep in his heart, he believed she was still out there. He believed she remembered him. He believed that the connection between them, whatever it was, had not broken. "If you can hear me somehow," he said quietly to the stars, "I hope you are safe. I hope these ships are not here to hurt us. And I hope, if this is the end, that I made a difference. Even a small one." The crystal seemed to pulse with light for a moment. Then it was still again. Daniel went back inside and sat in his chair. His cats gathered around him as if they sensed his worry. He stroked their fur and waited. There was nothing else he could do. Whatever was coming, it would arrive whether he was ready or not. He thought about his life. His wife who died too young. His work with animals. His meeting with Velara. The kindness he had shown without expecting anything back. Had any of it mattered? Had any of it meant anything in the vast cold universe? He did not know, but he hoped. The news continued through the night. The objects grew closer. The whole world held its breath, and in his small cabin in the mountains, a simple veterinarian waited for whatever would come next. The ship arrived at dawn. Daniel had fallen asleep in his chair, but the sound woke him. It was the same low hum he remembered from 3 years ago. He rushed outside and saw a silver vessel landing in the clearing. His heart pounded. The door of the ship opened. Commander Thyron stepped out, but he was different now. His posture was straight and respectful. He bowed his head when he saw Daniel. "Daniel Harris," Thyron said. I come with a message from Princess Valara of the Sindari Empire. She requests your presence." Daniel stared at him. "Valara? She sent you?" "Yes. The fleet that approaches Earth is ours. We have not come to attack. We have come because of you." "Because of me? I do not understand." Thyron almost smiled. "You will. Please, come with me. Everything will be explained." Daniel looked at his cabin. His cat sat on the porch, watching him with curious eyes. He did not know when he would return, but this was the moment he had dreamed about for 3 years. He could not refuse. He followed Thyron into the ship. They lifted off from the mountain and flew toward space. Through the windows, Daniel saw Earth growing smaller below him. The blue and green planet that was his home looked fragile from this distance. They approached the largest ship in the Sindari fleet. It was massive, bigger than any human city. Lights covered its surface like stars. Other ships surrounded it in perfect formation. Daniel's small vessel landed inside a vast hangar. Thyron led him through hallways made of shining metal and crystal. Sindari people watched them pass. They whispered to each other and pointed at Daniel with wonder. Finally, they reached a great hall. The ceiling rose so high that Daniel could not see the top. Thousands of aliens stood in rows on both sides. At the far end sat a massive throne made of gold and purple crystal. On the throne sat Emperor Zorth. He was tall and powerful, with silver blue skin and eyes that seemed to look through everything. A crown of light floated above his head. His face was stern and unreadable. Beside the throne stood Valara. She looked exactly as Daniel remembered, but somehow even more beautiful. She wore a flowing white gown covered in gems. Her white hair was arranged in an elegant style. Her purple eyes found Daniel across the great hall, and she smiled. Thyron stopped and bowed. "Your Majesty, I present Daniel Harris of Earth." Daniel was pushed gently forward. He walked toward the throne, feeling the eyes of thousands watching him. His legs felt weak. His mouth was dry. What was he supposed to do? How was he supposed to act before an emperor? He stopped 10 feet from the throne and did the only thing he could think of. He bowed. "Rise," the emperor commanded. His voice echoed through the hall. Daniel stood straight and looked at the emperor. He tried not to shake. "So you are the human who saved my daughter," Zorth said. "You do not look impressive. You are small. You have no weapons. You come from a primitive planet. And yet my daughter speaks of you as if you were a great hero." "I am no hero, Your Majesty," Daniel said. "I am just a veterinarian. I help animals. And you help my daughter. She was injured. She was stranded on your world. You could have left her to die. You could have given her to your government for reward. Instead, you treated her wounds, protected her from harm, and asked for nothing when she left. Is this true?" "Yes, Your Majesty. It is true." The emperor was silent for a long moment. The great hall was completely quiet. Then Zorth looked at his daughter. "Valara, tell the court what you told me." Valara stepped forward. Her voice rang clear and strong. "For centuries, the Sindari have believed humans were dangerous and worthless. We avoided Earth. We expected nothing good from its people. But Daniel Harris proved us wrong. He showed me that humans are capable of kindness without greed. He showed me that they can love without conditions. He showed me that the measure of a species is not its technology or power, but its heart." She turned to face Daniel directly. "You changed my understanding of the universe. You made me believe that humanity deserves a chance. And I have spent 3 years convincing my father to agree." The emperor rose from his throne. Everyone in the hall held their breath. "Daniel Harris," Zorth said, "I have lived for over 400 years. I have met kings and generals from 1,000 worlds. I have seen every kind of ambition and greed and treachery, but I have rarely seen what my daughter described in you. A pure heart, simple kindness, courage without desire for gain. He descended the steps from his throne until he stood before Daniel. For saving the life of my daughter, you will receive 3 rewards. First, Earth is hereby placed under the protection of the Sundari Empire. No hostile species may attack your world while we guard it. A murmur spread through the crowd. Daniel's mouth fell open. The entire planet? Protected because of him? Second, your pendant will be enhanced. It will allow you to speak with my daughter across any distance, whenever you wish. The bond between you will never be broken by space or time. Daniel touched the crystal around his neck. It glowed warmly against his chest. Third, I offer you a position as ambassador between your people and mine. You would represent humanity in our empire and help our species understand each other. Daniel was overwhelmed. Tears formed in his eyes. But when he spoke, his voice was steady. Your Majesty, I accept the first 2 gifts with gratitude. Earth needs protection, and I would be honored to speak with Velara again. But I must refuse the ambassador position. I am not a politician or a diplomat. I am just a man who takes care of animals. That is all I know how to be. A gasp went through the crowd. Who would refuse an offer from the Emperor? But Zora smiled. It transformed his stern face into something warm and kind. You refuse power and honor, just as you refused reward before. My daughter chose her savior well. He placed a hand on Daniel's shoulder. Go home, Daniel Harris. Live your simple life. But know that you have changed the fate of 2 civilizations today. Velara ran forward and embraced Daniel. He held her tightly, feeling tears on both their faces. Thank you, she whispered. For everything. Thank you for remembering me, he replied. When Daniel returned to Earth, the whole world had changed. The news reported that aliens had placed Earth under their protection. Scientists scrambled to understand what had happened. Leaders argued about what it meant. But in a small cabin in the mountains of Montana, a simple veterinarian fed his cats and looked at the stars. He had helped someone who needed help. And somehow, that small kindness had protected an entire planet. He smiled and went inside, thought tomorrow there would be more animals to save.